Welcome to Notorious Minds, where we examine those that have altered destinies and changed human history. I am M.R. Parks. If you have not done so already, please do me the honor of subscribing to this channel. Please remember to click the notification bell and you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Please stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Warning: the following video contains violent content, graphic images and descriptions which may be considered disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Some friends are for a lifetime, others are for a season, and some are not real friends at all. This is Michael Hernandez. This is his story. On a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning in March of 2004, the halls of Southwood Middle School in Palmetto Bay, Florida, became the scene of a horrific crime that would send shockwaves across the nation. As students filed into the classrooms, none could have imagined the chilling events that had just taken place in a second-floor bathroom, an act that would forever change the lives of two families. Michael Hernandez's close friends was a boy by the name of Jaime Goff. Jaime Rodrigo Goff was born on October 10, 1989 in Miami-Dade County. He was a shy and polite child at age 14. His father knew from the day he was born Jaime had a great destiny in front of him. Jaime attended Southwood Middle School, a magnet school in Palmetto. He was in the Gifted and Talented program at his school. Jaime was a very loving child, a giving friend. Everyone liked to be around him. Jorge Goff, his father, and Maria, his mother, were hard-working parents. Jorge worked 2 jobs in order to provide for his family and to buy a nice family home in a safe neighborhood. Southwood Middle School was one of the best schools in the prosperous area of Palmetto. Palmetto is an affluent suburb where families go to raise their children. Now, Michael Hernandez was born on February 2nd, 1990, into what seemed to be a stable, middle-class family in the suburbs of Palmetto. The youngest of 2 children, Michael was raised by his father, a business owner, and his mother, an occupational therapist. From the outside, the Hernandez family appeared to be living the American dream. As a student at Southwood, Michael was known for his intelligence and charisma. Teachers described him as a bright and well-behaved student with a great sense of humor. He was part of the Gifted and Talented program as well. To his classmates, Michael was popular and outgoing, often the center of attention in social situations. However, beneath this facade of normalcy, a troubling darkness was growing. As Michael entered his early teens, he began to exhibit signs of obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. His mother noticed repetitive behaviors such as arranging objects in a specific order or performing routine actions multiple times. Obsessive-compulsive disorder can blur the lines between fantasy and reality. From the repetitive actions like washing your hands, cleaning excessively, or with repetitive movements, it causes the individual to become very anxious. In this way, they try to control everything. Obsessive-compulsive disorder can be different for many different people and manifests in many different ways. OCD manifests out of the fear of not being able to control your environment and doing everything you can to stop it. So now you want to control everything. And people with this disorder usually are perfectionists and deal with anxiety and fear. Michael Hernandez's repetitive actions and organizational skills were a warning sign of what lay within, but unfortunately his parents didn't notice them. His repetitive nature, coupled with his desire for all things horrific and gore, on top of that, his all-consuming lust of listening to violent lyrics, led him to a homicidal decision to commit the unthinkable. At the time, his parents attributed these changes as normal adolescent behavior, a decision they would later come to regret deeply. What Michael's parents and teachers couldn't see was a growing fascination with violence and death. He spent hours researching serial killers online, watching violent movies, and even viewing real crime photos. His computer's background at school sometimes featured gruesome images, a fact that unsettled some of his classmates but was largely overlooked. Michael's two closest friends, Jaime Goff since the 7th grade and Andre Martin since the 4th grade, were aware of his dark interests but didn't fully grasp the extent of his obsession. Michael had confided in them about his desire to become a serial killer of all things, but they dismissed it as a morbid curiosity or an attempt to shock them. Little did they know Michael's fantasies were rapidly blurring the lines between imagination and reality. In the months leading up to his horrific crime, Michael's behavior became increasingly erratic. He began carrying a screwdriver in his book bag, which he claimed was to lock his bedroom door at home. He also started keeping a journal where he meticulously planned out his future crime, including a list of potential victims. As Michael's mental state deteriorated, the warning signs multiplied. Yet in a tragic series of missed opportunities, no one, not his parents, teachers, or friends, fully recognized the danger that dwelt within this young man. Unfortunately, Michael chose Andre and Jaime as his unlikely victims. On March 2nd of 2004, Michael convinced his two friends, Andre and Jaime, to go into the boys' bathroom of their school before school started. Michael said, "Hey, I'm going to show you guys something." While the three boys were in the bathroom, Andre instinctively noticed that Michael Hernandez had put on a hat and a windbreaker, even though it was 75 degrees outside. He was somewhat overdressed for this kind of weather. Michael Hernandez tried to get Jaime and Andre into the bathroom stall, but then the school bell rang. The boys said, "We have to get to class." Michael said to them, "Let's do this again tomorrow." The boys agreed to come back tomorrow. On the morning of March 3rd of 2004, as Jaime was on his way to the bus stop to go to his school, he turns back and runs into the house and says, "Mom, Dad, I forgot to tell you, I love you." He kissed his smiling mother on the cheek and ran off to school. Those would be the last words Jaime ever spoke to his parent. A few hours later, Jaime's mother gets a call from the school. "Mrs. Goff, can you please come to the school right away? Jaime has had an accident." Jaime's mother, Maria, says to the person on the other line, "What happened to him?" And the person on the other line says, "We'll talk to you when you get here. We'll talk to you whenever you get here. And please tell your husband to come too." News of horrific events spreads quickly. The school was chaotic. The police, ambulance, and news reporters were everywhere. Mrs. Goff is led into the principal's office, only thinking Jaime has been in a fight. She's demanding to know what's going on with her son Jaime. The police keep delaying, not wanting to blurt it out. Then, all of a sudden, Maria hears someone outside speaking softly. "We're waiting for the psychologist to come so that we can tell her." Maria, Jaime's mother, gets upset and says, "I don't need a psychologist. I want to know the truth, and I want to know it now." The detective, holding back tears, says, "I swear I would love to tell you that Jaime is okay, but he died." Maria, screaming frantically, calls her husband, Jorge, and matter-of-factly says, "Jaime has been murdered." Jorge, on the other end of the phone, just screams. They murdered Jaime in the bathroom. Jorge is just screaming. It took Jorge 35 minutes to get to the school from work. Trying to stay calm, he walks into the principal's office and sees his wife Maria is a basket case, thinking she's not going to make it through this. Then one of the detectives told Jorge, "I'm so sorry, but your son is deceased." When the lead investigator, Detective Sal Garoppolo, gets to the school's bathroom, he finds Jaime lying on the floor in the bathroom. The detective found out that Jaime's body was actually discovered by another student. Interestingly enough, it turns out, when the boy saw Jaime's body in the stall, he noticed that there was another boy by the sink washing his hands. And he said to the boy, "Did you see the guy in the stall?" And Michael, who was washing his hands, said, "Yes, we need to go get some help." Then Michael exited and walked out of the bathroom. When the homicide team arrived, the boy's bathroom was extremely bloody. Lying there on the cold tile floor in a pool of his own blood, with his glasses lying next to him, is Jaime. Even though they were seasoned detectives, nothing can prepare you for the death of a child. Seeing that they were parents as well, no one wants to see a child laying across the floor. There was so much evidence, blood evidence, at the scene. Detectives did not want to rush to conclusions. This was an unusual set of circumstances. Right from the beginning, detectives determined that Jaime was a very good student. He was in the gifted class. Jaime played the violin. He was a good kid. CSI detectives came out to process the scene. It seems that Jaime's body had been found by some students inside the restroom. Detectives identified that one of those students was Michael Hernandez. The detectives spoke with Michael and they learned that Michael was friends with Jaime. They were buddies. Michael was very well spoken, articulate, a smart kid. He told the detectives, "Yes, I was in the bathroom," that he had seen a body. Detective Garoppolo noticed that Michael had a couple of speckles of blood on his shirt. The detective asked Michael, "How did this happen?" Michael said, "Jaime and I were just clowning around and he pushed the door open and it hit me in the mouth, which caused my lip to be cut on the inside." The detective asked Michael, "Can you show me where you were cut at in your mouth?" When the detective looked at Michael's mouth, there was no cut there. So detective knew that was a lie. From that moment, everything changed. The detective had to remain objective, so he continued to question Michael further. The detective takes Michael down to police headquarters to speak to him. Unlike in most states, Florida does not need for a parent's permission to speak with a child. Detective Garoppolo continued talking with Michael inside one of the interview rooms, trying to put the young boy at ease. The detective asked Michael,
"For the record, could you please state your name?"
Michael Hernandez.
Mike, what's your birthday?
February 2nd, 1990.
Happy birthday. Thank you. So you just turned 14. Very good. And what grade are you in? What school do you go to?
Southwood Middle School.
And are you in any special classes or anything? Any honors classes?
I'm in gifted. All my classes are gifted except for my language.
Very good.
"How do you know Jaime?" "We've been friends since the 7th grade. The detective learned from Michael that Jaime did have a problem with somebody. Apparently, Jaime owed an individual some money. "What was this money for?" the detective said. Michael said, "Oh, I don't know." Michael told the detective that he did not know the boy's real name, but they called him Sundre. His nickname is Sundre. He was an older kid. Michael gave the detective a description of the boy. A male about 17. Michael had first met this kid sometime around Christmas break. When Michael was visiting Jaime, he saw this person, Sundre. The detective asked, "How do you know that Jaime owed him money?" It seems Michael had a book bag with him. So the detective asked him, "Is it okay if I look inside your book bag?" And Michael gave him permission. The detective noticed that there was a latex glove inside the book bag and that it looked like it had traces of blood on it. The discovery of the bloody glove forces Michael to reveal that he knows more than he initially told police. Michael told police that Sundre had asked him to bring some gloves to school. He had been told by Sundre to get Jaime into the bathroom so Sundre could get the money from Jaime. Michael said he didn't want any problems, so he did what Sundre said. He indicated that he told Jaime to go into the school bathroom around 8:30, 30 minutes before school starts. He said he went into the bathroom with Jaime, that he gave the latex gloves to Sundre, then Sundre signaled to Michael to grab Jaime from behind. At this point, Sundre pulled out a knife and stabbed Jaime. Michael said he didn't know Sundre was going to kill Jaime. The detective was thinking, why would you help someone hurt your best friend? Michael had been over Jamie's house before and hung out in his room and even ate dinner with his family. Why would you set up your own friend? You defend your friend. You don't set them up. By this time, Michael's parents arrived at the police station, and detectives tell them that their son participated in a murder of Jaime. Detectives questioned the parents to whether or not they knew who Sundre was, and they said no. They were told their son would be going to juvenile detention. Michael's mom also extremely upset by the outcome, but shockingly, Michael showed no emotion about anything. Michael was emotionless, like a robot. Interestingly enough, detectives learned that the day before the murder took place, that Michael tried to get Jaime and his friend Andre to come into the bathroom with him. But the bell rang. The boys said, "We have to go to class." Michael said to them, "Let's do this again tomorrow." The next morning, only Jaime shows up. Andre forgets about it, an act that saved his life. Officers then confront Michael about the evidence they have found. "The information that you're giving us just isn't adding up," the detective said. "You lured your friend into that bathroom the day before. Don't forget the little spots of blood on Michael's shirt and the latex gloves." Michael admitted there was not a kid named Sundre. "That it's me." On the afternoon of February 3, 2004, 14-year-old Michael Hernandez confessed to police that it wasn't Sundre who killed his best friend. Michael told the detective that he made the story up about Sundre. And on March 3, 2004, Michael met Jaime outside of Southwood Middle School. He told officers,
Why did you make the suggestion to Jamie to go inside the school today?
I was planning to murder him.
Do you know why you were going to do this?
No, I don't.
Michael answers this question as a matter of fact, with no emotion, not even a shred of remorse for killing his best friend.
Why did you choose Jamie, your friend?
He was the easiest out of anybody because he would have followed me because we're such good friends.
He had meticulously prepared for this day, creating a secret compartment in his book bag to hide his weapon and bringing latex gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints. That morning started like any other. Tuesday at Southwood Middle School, students gathered outside of the school to meet up with friends, socialize, and wait for the doors to open at 8:50 a.m. No one thought much of it when two particular students weren't at their usual meeting spot. Michael convinced Jaime to meet him in the second floor bathroom before classes started, telling him he had something interesting to show him. Trusting his friend, Jaime followed Michael into the handicap stall. It was at that moment Michael's long-held fantasies of murdering became a horrifying reality. Once inside the stall, Michael put on his latex gloves and told Jaime to turn around. In a sudden, ambitious attack, Michael covered Jaime's mouth and began to slash at his throat with a knife he had brought from home. Jaime, caught completely off guard, struggled and pleaded for his life. "Please don't kill me," Jaime begs. Michael said, "I'm not going to kill you." Michael was lying. So Michael, driven by his dark obsession, continued his frenzied assault. The attack was brutally thorough. Michael stabbed Jaime over 40 times, focusing primarily on his neck and head. Even after Jaime had stopped moving, Michael continued to inflict wounds, telling detectives that he wanted to make sure his victim was dead. He then positions Jaime's body over the toilet and left the stall. In a display of chilling composure, Michael calmly washed his hands, hid the bloody knife in his backpack. He disposed of the latex gloves by flushing them down the toilet. The doors opened to the school. The students flooded inside before classes started. The gruesome scene was discovered shortly by a student. Upon entering the second-floor bathroom, the student observed a single black boot bag sitting near the entrance of the bathroom and specks of blood dotting the floor. The student walks up to the sink where another boy, Michael Hernandez, is washing his hands in the sink. As the boy looks in the bathroom mirror, he can see behind him in the reflection from the mirror of legs dangling from the stall behind him. He peeked underneath the stall to check. It was indeed someone else in the bathroom, but something was terribly wrong. A large pool of blood was forming on the floor inside the stall, and there appeared to be a pair of feet dangling down from the toilet. He said to Michael, "Did you see that boy in the stall?" And Michael said, "Yeah, we need to call somebody." Michael then walked out of the bathroom to his first period class as if nothing had happened. The other students swiftly exited the bathroom to advise a nearby security guard that there appeared to be someone bleeding inside the boys' bathroom. The guard simply brushed him off and told him to go to class. He then went and told a friend what he'd seen. Together, the two boys proceeded into the bathroom. The stench of warm blood had begun to fill the air. The two teens tiptoed cautiously toward the stall. They knew they had to look inside. They prepared themselves, then hesitantly inched the stall door open. The scene before them could only be described as nightmarish. 14-year-old Jaime Goff was covered in blood and unresponsive. He was positioned face down, his chest and torso lying across the toilet seat, while his head and legs left dangling. The blood streamed down his face and into a large pool that was forming on the floor beneath his head. In that pool lay a lone pair of glasses. One of the boys shouted to Jaime twice. When they got no reply, shock turned into panic and the two fled the bathroom in hysterics, startling the security guard in the hallway. This time, alarmed by the students' clear distress, the guard rushed into the boys' bathroom. As the news of the murder spread, shock and belief rippled through the school. Students and teachers struggled to comprehend how such a violent act could occur. For many, the realization that the killer was still among them, a fellow student, would prove to be the most disturbing aspect of all. The security guard, upon witnessing the gruesome scene, he immediately called for the Miami-Dade Police Department. The guard then left the bathroom to retrieve the assistant principal. Mysteriously, upon returning, the guard discovered that in the few minutes he'd been absent from the bathroom, someone had come in and removed the victim's body from the toilet. The body was now laying face up on the stall floor, his arms splayed out to his sides. The young killer had come back in the bathroom and moved the body. School personnel could now clearly see that one side of his neck was shredded to pieces. A few hours later, investigators entered the classroom of 8th grade student Michael Hernandez, who'd been identified by one of the two witnesses, the two boys that had entered the bathroom. Michael's teacher approached detectives first with a few pieces of interesting information. She stated that she let her students into the classroom at 8:55 a.m. Since that time, Michael Hernandez had requested to go to the bathroom at 3 separate times. When Michael gets to his first period class, he realizes that the ring that he usually wears on his hand is missing, and his friends know that he wears a ring on his hand. So he knows that he left the ring at the murder scene. So Michael asks his teacher, can he use the bathroom? And Michael goes back to the second floor bathroom after the security guard has already left. He goes in there to look for his ring. In the process, he removes Jaime's body from off that toilet and lays him on the floor. He then gets his ring that has his DNA on it and slips back out of that bathroom and back to his class. And this is when Michael's teacher notices that he appears to have stains on his clothes that look like blood. The teacher observed that Michael had blood on his shirt, which he attributed to a nosebleed. He made 2 trips to the bathroom before 9 o'clock a.m. After the school went into lockdown, Michael requested to go to the bathroom a 3rd time, wherein his teacher summoned a security guard to escort him to an unoccupied restroom. Michael was taken to an office on the 1st floor of the school to speak with detectives. After collecting Michael's statement, a consensual search of Michael's book bag was conducted. What they found inside told an even more shocking story. It seems that inside the book bag was a red jacket and 2 latex gloves, both with traces of blood on them. The detective asked Michael to accompany him to the station, to which Michael agreed a little after 1:40 p.m. Michael was transported to the Miami-Dade homicide, where he finally told the truth. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The truth is worse than fiction. Even though Michael Hernandez was admitting to first-degree murder, his statements were emotionless. Probably thought he was going to be charged as a child, but what Michael does not know is this. Under Florida state law, 14 to 15-year-olds can be tried as adults. For certain felonies, they can also be subject to the exact same penalties as an adult.
Now, what was your plan? How were you going to accomplish this?
I was going to get him into the stall, the last stall, because it's the biggest, so I have more room.
Now, this is in the restroom?
This is the restroom.
On which floor?
2nd floor.
Okay, and it's the male restroom?
Yes, it is.
Where is it near?
It is near the Media Center and the Gifted U.S. History class.
And once you brought or got Jamie in there, how are you going to bring him or lure him into the restroom?
We usually go to the restroom after we get upstairs so we don't get caught by security.
Okay.
And so I knew that was going to work. I got him into the stall by saying, look, I have something to show you. So I got him into the stall, and I told him to turn around because I wanted it to be a surprise. Before that, I put on the gloves. He saw me put on the gloves, and I said,
Oh, don't do that.
and I said, I like them because they're comfortable.
Now, you also said that you put on gloves. What kind of gloves were these?
They were latex gloves.
Where did you get them from?
My mother purchased them at Walgreens the previous night.
Why did she purchase these? Was that at your request?
It was at my request because I said that I needed them for extra credit for my science class.
Can you imagine his mother's horror when she finds out that she helped her own son commit a murder by buying him the latex gloves? Disturbingly, it seems that Michael mapped out every single part of the murder and was elated at executing his plan. Michael's tone becomes elevated at this time of the confession. He can relive what he's done by confessing to the murder. This often brings back feelings associated with the original event. He's also showing how smart he is in preparing for his crime. He didn't seem afraid or bothered that he's just been caught of murder of Jaime, his best friend. A thorough search of Michael's backpack yielded a secret compartment that he made by cutting a slit in the inner lining and attaching Velcro along the edges of it so that it could be securely shut. He used this compartment to store the murder weapon, meaning that Michael had planned for the possibility that his backpack would be searched.
Now, you and him are already in the stall, correct?
Yes.
Did he go into the stall first?
Yes.
Did you follow him?
Yes, I did.
Did you close the stall door?
Yes, I did.
Now, what transpired next?
Okay. I was talking to him and I told him, all right, now I have to put my hand over your mouth.
Okay.
And so I did, and I lifted his neck up.
Now, was he facing you or was he away from you?
He was
Did
away.
you put your hand over his mouth?
Yes, I did.
And which hand did you use to put over his mouth?
My left hand.
And once you did that, what happened next?
I had already got, before I put my hand over his mouth, I already put my knife out. So the blade was already out.
Now, where had you kept this blade?
I had kept it in my jacket pocket.
And what color jacket did you have on today?
I had a red jacket.
Now, is this the same clothing that you're wearing?
Yes.
You slit his throat.
Left to right.
Did Jamie say or do anything? Did he put up a struggle?
Yes, he did. He turned around after I did that. He asked me not to kill him. So I told him, okay, I'm not going to if you cooperate.
Okay.
Which was a lie.
Right.
And so I realized that the stall door was open, so I locked it.
Yes.
And then I turned him around again and proceeded to stab him.
And where did you stab him, Mike?
I'm not positively sure, but I'm guessing around the jugular veins, right around here.
Did you stab him anywhere else on his body?
Just basically the back of the neck, all through the neck.
Okay.
And once in the temple, and I think I sliced him here.
And that would be on the left side of his face?
Yes, on the left side.
It seemed that when Michael went into the stall with Jaime, he had a red jacket on, which is why no one saw blood all over him when he came back to class. It seemed that he went to the sink and he washed the blood off of his red jacket, then left and went to class. Everything that Michael Hernandez said collaborated with the evidence. Michael was able to recall the details of the murder extremely well, even noting the direction in which he slit his friend's throat. Michael didn't even indicate that he blacked out or disassociated from his crime. He told everything he did word for word, minute by minute. Michael was keenly aware of exactly what he was doing from beginning to end. This is not a boy you want out on the streets. The disturbing nature of Michael's crimes even more apparent the autopsy of Jaime's body. The medical examiner concluded that in addition to his throat being slit, Jaime had been stabbed in the neck over 40 times. It's disturbing to think that Michael, a teenager, was in complete control the entire time. Michael said Jaime did not fall over the toilet, but that Michael placed him there. He was gasping for air and Michael didn't like the sound of it, so he placed him on his stomach over the toilet to close up his throat so he would stop gasping for air. Michael made sure that Jaime was dead by poking his knife into his face and checking his eyes for movement. He was on his front with his face to the right of the toilet and blood was coming out of his mouth. They also asked him, did Jaime ever do anything that would make you want to kill him? And he said no, he didn't. The detectives went on to say, do you know the difference between right and wrong? And Michael said, yes, I do. So do you think what you did to Jaime was right or was wrong? Michael stated, I don't think it was right and I don't think it was wrong. Michael's response at saying this just proves that his thinking was delusional. Eventually, the authorities would find out that Michael Hernandez had early onset adolescent schizophrenia. The detective asked him, has everything you told me been true and correct to the best of your knowledge? And Michael said, yes, it has. Have I forced you in any way to make a statement? Michael said, no, you haven't. Following his interrogation, Michael was transported to the Juvenile Assessment Center. If you ever want to know what a teenage psychopath looks like, you just met him. Schoolmates over the next few days, students reported that Michael demonstrated an intense interest in all things gore and death. Even the screensaver on his computer featured a scary figure covered in blood, which had caught the attention of other classmates. Michael also had a history of teasing and physically assaulting his peers. He'd been reprimanded in the past for mocking and hitting a couple of female classmates. He was also known to poke and chase other kids with a screwdriver that he kept in his book bag. Michael had a journal, and in his journal he described his dark obsession. Michael's dream was to be a serial killer. His journal was very detailed. He wrote down exactly who he wanted to kill and how. Michael had a complete list of how he would accomplish his crimes. It said, "Go to other countries. You have to be a serial killer and mass murderer. Stay alone. Never forget God, ever. Have a cult and plan a mass killing for a new world. Be an expert thief. Have many weapons." It seems that we stopped Michael right at a pivotal time. Who knows how many others he would have killed if he hadn't been caught. Michael stood trial at age 18, 4 years after murdering Jaime, pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. At his trial, a particularly startling piece of evidence was brought forth: his journal, a notebook that contained information about famous serial killers, a list of people he planned on killing, including his older sister, and a mission statement that declared his need to cleanse the planet by murdering people. In his journal, he wrote very badly on purpose, so if his classmates looked over at his paper, they would not be able to read what he was writing. Needless to say, the jury took no pity on him, and on September 24, 2008, Michael Hernandez was found guilty of first-degree murder of Jaime Goff and the attempted first-degree murder of Andre Martin. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 30 years for the attempted murder charge on Andre. Basically, he went from the playpen to the state pen. For 10 years, Jaime's parents still struggled to understand what happened and why. There were days when his father wanted to kill himself, and it was forgiving Michael Hernandez that finally gave him some peace. Mr. Goff said forgiveness of Michael gave him a reason to continue living without his son. Jaime's father said, "Remember, forgiveness is not a weakness. It's because you're a strong person. Forgiveness is not about condoning what they've done. It's about releasing it from tormenting you." Eight years later, in an unforeseen turn of events, because medical evidence has proven that your mind is not fully formed until around the age of 25, a Supreme Court ruling made it unlawful to automatically sentence a minor to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Michael Hernandez appealed and was retried in 2016. During his resentencing, Michael took to the stand, the first time since his crimes. Michael stated in court,
"I had to learn over years how wrong it was, what I did, and how much pain I caused you. And I wanted to apologize to his family, to his mother, and his father. I didn't always feel this way."
Becoming emotional in court, Michael said, "I had to learn over the years that what I did was wrong. I understand what I did and how much pain I caused everyone." Apparently apologetic and remorseful, 26-year-old Michael Hernandez took the stand and spoke directly to the parents of Jaime Goff. He apologized to Jaime's family, but prosecutor Gail Levine wasn't buying it. She laid into Michael Hernandez, saying,
"How'd you muster up those tears?"
I feel horrible about what I did.
Tears coming down your
Yes, I
face?
have tears coming down my face.
Because I haven't seen you wipe your nose or wipe an eye.
saying he's the same unchanged 14-year-old boy now sitting here, that he was basically acting because of the change in the law, that one day he would be able to get out and to have children in the family. But what about the family that Jaime will never have? He can never come back from where he was sentenced. But the prosecutor wasn't done with Michael yet. She had him address his sister in open court, who Hernandez had once included on his hit list.
I love you, and I absolutely no way to ever do anything to you. I was mad one day. That's all it was.
During his resentencing hearing, Andre Martin spoke against him and stated his sentence fits his crime for a life. The psychologist also spoke during his trial, saying that Michael Hernandez still lacks emotion and only has cried one time since being locked up, and that's when his gay lover was transferred out of the prison. Michael wasn't able to convince the judge that he had changed. He believed Michael Hernandez was the same individual as he was in 2004, a cold and calculating killer who had murdered his best friend in a middle school bathroom. In court, the judge read transcripts of a phone call that Michael had with a pen pal. What Michael says in those phone calls to his pen pal are quite disturbing. The judge read it in open court. Michael saying, "I can't understand why so many mass killers kill themselves before they can enjoy what he calls the glory and the fun." He would also joke about his inability to cry, and the pen pal would play heavy metal music with violent lyrics for him. Even in a phone call with his father would basically condone his son's behavior by playing violent music over the phone so his son could listen to it. He is part of the problem. This is one of the reasons why Michael Hernandez went to jail in the first place. The violent music and the gore and the horrific movies contributed to his delusion of wanting to be a serial killer, and his father still doesn't get it.
All right, type in bleeding through. Into blood today? Yeah, I'm gonna over to that's gonna be the theme. See how many bands with blood I know. Love lost in a hail of gunfire. That's that one.
After hearing phone calls, Jorge Goff said he should never go free. He hasn't changed at all. He was sentenced to life, and that is what he deserves. We want the same sentence he gave our son. Lawyers and families have always argued Michael Hernandez needs psychiatric help and not prison.
My fondest hope would be that he get a more appropriate sentence, that he would be able to get the help that he needs.
In the end, Michael Hernandez was resentenced, and it remained the same: life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2017, almost a year later, Andre Martin, now aged 26, became a police officer in Miami-Dade.
The gravity of the situation becomes more and more apparent to me in adulthood than it did when I was just 13 years old. I come to terms with the fact that I could have lost my life that day. The impact is exponential.
He says he was born in Brooklyn, New York, and moved to South Florida when he was 8. He then met Michael Hernandez in the 3rd grade at Perrine Academy. Afterward, they attended Robert Morgan Educational Center in South Miami-Dade. He said he considered Hernandez his best friend, though they remained friends when the two transferred to Southwood Middle School. Andre said they were slowly drifting apart as Hernandez began to become more involved with heavy metal and developed an obsession for horror movies and violent music. During the time of the investigation, Andre's identity was hidden from the public. He says it absolutely pushed him toward law enforcement, witnessing how the detectives protected his identity and handled the case. In 2004, Andre Martin stated he too was lured into a bathroom stall. In fact, he was on Hernandez's hit list. The gravity of his situation became more and more apparent to him in adulthood than it did when he was 13 years old. Andre became a police officer. He entered law enforcement because of Jaime's murder, as well as the interviews with detectives really inspired him to become a police officer. Andre recalls 6 months before the murder of Jaime, Michael said in passing that he wanted to become a serial killer. However, Andre just brushed it off, saying he didn't think anything of it at the time. Andre says he's happy to help and protect his community. And on April 29, 2021, Michael Hernandez, now 31 years old, captured on prison video, collapses in his cell. He falls to the floor. There's no foul play. The cause of Michael's death by the medical examiner determined that he had cardiac dysrhythmia and improper beating of the heart. Basically, Michael's heart stopped beating. Gee, I wonder why. No one was happy to hear about Michael's death. Jaime's family, nor Andre himself. It was just a sad ending to a sad life. Everyone was just shocked to hear that the 31-year-old man lost his life. The fact that Michael was bordering on obesity probably contributed to his death. Jaime's mother said that she doesn't wish it on anyone. She knows the pain a mother faces with losing a child. Michael's parents were upset about the death of Jaime and apologized to his parents many, many times, but the Goff family forgave them years ago. Andre Martin said, "I really don't have any words for his passing. It doesn't bring me joy, solace, or relief, because at the end of the day, it doesn't bring my friend Jaime back." Officer Martin noticed that he got an automated message from the prison during the time, informing him that an inmate's custody status had changed. The death of his childhood friend brought him mixed feelings. Eventually, in 2008, a street was renamed Jaime Goff Way in memory of the slain teen. After all the students that remembered the tragic event had graduated from Southwood Middle School, eventually in 2007, the school went under construction. The bathroom where Jaime lost his life was remodeled. It is said to look nothing like the former bathroom. They did it to move on from that tragic day. Jaime Rodrigo Goff was a truly exceptional young boy who had his whole life in front of him. Unfortunately, he befriended a delusional young man with psychopathic tendencies. Michael Hernandez is a prime example of why we should pay attention to what our children watch and what they listen to. Unfortunately, Jaime lost his life because of a dark and twisted individual. A precious light diminished far too soon. May Jaime Rodrigo Goff rest in eternal peace.
Thanks for watching Notorious Minds. Please like, share, and by all means subscribe to this channel. Please remember to click the notification bell so that you will be notified the next time I upload a new video. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. See you next time.